I never planned on leaving him, just squeezing him for every last dime. Then I fell for another man, the perfect mess of fiery eyes and reckless nights. Now I'm in court, he's in my rearview mirror, and my shiny new lover? Let's just say the honeymoon's already over. My life's a dumpster fire, and I'm the one who lit the match. I can feel the tension already. Just the other day it felt like my life was a movie I'd rewind and watch over again for the perfect bits. Now there's this hole. Like something is just missing. Something is. Him. The other guy, I mean. Don't judge, but I swear I didn't see it coming. Work thing, late nights, all that crap, we even joked it was a cliché. Turns out, it was. 'Cause now there's texts I can't get out of my head, kisses behind closed doors, and this damn burner phone burning a hole in my pocket. I hate it, the lying. Well, almost. That rush when I check it, like nothing else matters for those couple of minutes. But then I'm back in this house, the one I built with my husband. Every creak in the floor reminds me I'm a goddamn fraud. See, there are those days when I want to throw the phone out the car window, confess to my husband like it was some ripped from the headlines drama. But then there are the moments. Like just yesterday, I caught his scent on my jacket, the other guy's cologne, I mean. I don't know how the hell it got there, but I kinda liked it. Not as much as my husband's smell. That still makes my knees all wobbly. But the other, it's different. Thrilling. It's messed up. Like tonight at dinner, there I am, serving mashed potatoes like the perfect wifey, while imagining those hands sliding down my back, his voice whispering those things. It's so goddamn wrong. Then this morning, Mark, my brother, gives me this look while I'm texting. No words, but that man can read me like my favorite book. I swear I nearly choked on my coffee. I hate that he knows. I hate that I know. Now it's not just a secret, it's a secret with an audience. My stomach's tied itself in knots so tight I swear it's cutting off my air. We're supposed to be moving on, making a new start after everything, but my escape bag is still shoved behind the old Christmas ornaments in the attic. I keep telling myself it's practical, to be ready just in case. Case of what exactly, I don't know. Case I just can't go through with this charade any longer, I guess. Baking's always been my thing. Kneading dough until all the worry bleeds out in rhythmic thuds. But today, my hands feel clumsy, like they're not a part of me anymore. Making his favorite, that apple cinnamon mess, feels wrong. Like I'm buttering up the executioner before swinging the axe. Jenny raises a glass, her eyes all sparkly like she's celebrating something awesome. My new job, the way I'm finding myself again, after the split. She means well, but sometimes I want to scream at her that nothing's okay, that I feel like I'm living in someone else's skin. Maybe if I tell her about the other guy. No, bad idea. Jenny's loyal to a fault, she'd tear him apart. The screen of that burner phone practically burns my thumb. I type, delete, type again. Too emotional, too needy. That's not what got me into this mess in the first place. I hit send on something cold, the kind of text the old me would have been proud of. My hands shake as I wait for a reply. The courtroom feels colder than any church I've ever been in. My lawyer says it's routine, the final stamp to make everything official. But when that judge looks at me, I feel like a bug pinned under glass. Like I won't ever be clean of this. Won't ever get to simply be again, without this shadow hanging over me. My signature looks wrong on the dotted line, messy, unrecognizable. Like it doesn't belong to me anymore, to this woman signing away years with the flick of a pen. This isn't the freedom I thought it would be. It's more like being skinned alive and expected to smile through the pain. Later, I wrestle a cardboard box onto the front porch. His old college sweatshirt, those stupid postcards he collected from nowhere towns, a mug so chipped it's practically a weapon. My chest squeezes with each thing I place inside, like I'm packing away pieces of my old self, too. The chain around my neck feels too heavy all of a sudden. It's beautiful, the little gold pendant my lover picked, but now it's just a shackle. A reminder that every choice has a price, that I'm the one who decided to pay it. Mom doesn't yell, never did, even as a kid. But that look she gives me, a mix of pity and, well, something colder, cuts harder than a raised hand ever could. Her, it's okay, dear, isn't forgiveness, it's an exit strategy for her. So she doesn't have to watch me dig this hole any deeper. The other night I reached for an old battered copy of Pride and Prejudice. Remember how I hated Elizabeth Bennet back in high school? Thought she was a brat? Not anymore. I finally get her, the desperation that makes someone reach for something that feels good, even if it's bad for them in the long run. Turns out, being a tragic heroine kinda sucks. It'd be way easier if I could just hate myself. But a tiny, traitorous part of me doesn't. It still likes waking up with his name on my lips. It hits me while I'm folding laundry, of all the mundane things. My shoulders start to shake, and tears stream down my face. Not the big, dramatic sobs, but a pathetic sniffle that won't stop. I'm not even mourning the end of my marriage. That feels done and dusted. It's the mess I made, the choices that led me here. It's overwhelming. Later, I wrestle a single suitcase into my car. No meticulously packed escape bag this time. It feels more like running away than making a fresh start. But where do you go when you're the cause of the wreckage? When the thing you're running from is yourself. Nighttime is the worst. We haven't shared a bed in months, but when he turns over, and I catch his face in the moonlight, it's like there's a stranger sleeping next to me. Angry, hurt, and the look makes me the villain of his story. Can't really blame him for that. The kitchen smells like garlic and onions, and I realize I'm trying to recreate his spaghetti like it's some love potion. It flops. It's too spicy, the noodles overdone. The taste makes my stomach churn. In that moment, I see it so clear. I don't even know this man. Not the real him, just the version I built up in my head to justify chasing dreams that were never real. The new apartment is small, the walls so white they're blinding. I hang his favorite framed photos, ocean waves and some black and white landscapes. Now they don't feel like reminders of what we were. More like tombstones marking something I don't even understand how I killed. His Rolex, the one for his big promotion, felt heavy in my hand. I didn't pawn it. Slipping it into the donation bin felt like cutting a cord, but whether I was breaking free or just being petty, I couldn't decide. Sometimes the line between those feelings gets real blurry. Mark showed up Thursday with pizza and a six-pack. Didn't ask how I was, didn't lecture, just plopped down on my bare living room floor. We ate in silence, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel completely alone. He's good like that, my brother. That night, the dreams were back. But this time, my husband's face bled into my lover's, and then back again, a morphing horror show. I woke gasping, heart pounding, and the awful truth hit me. This wasn't about winning some stupid game. I'd lost on all counts, shattered something precious with both hands, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do to fix it. I walked through the park this morning, the one where we exchanged vows under that ancient oak tree. The spring blossoms were in full riot, pink and white petals exploding against the blue sky. It was so beautiful it hurt. I cried until my face was swollen, and I didn't bother hiding behind sunglasses. Let the dog walkers and old ladies stare. They probably got the picture a while ago anyway. His arms around me tonight felt different. Tighter, like he's holding on to something that might slip away at any moment. Desperation looks good on no one, least of all me. Maybe he can sense it, that itch under my skin. Wondering if he feels the hollowness too, and if so, will he care enough to let me go? I woke up feeling reckless. Not the good kind, the destructive kind. Grabbed the kitchen scissors and hacked away at my hair until there was a choppy mess staring back at me from the mirror. Like maybe if I changed enough on the outside, I wouldn't have to deal with the twisted mess on the inside. The grocery store radio blared out some cheesy love song, the one he used to sing off key at me while making stupid pancakes on Sunday mornings. Used to make me smile. Now it was like acid in my ears. Instead of changing the station, I cranked up the volume. Let it hurt. Maybe that was part of what needed to happen. The lawyer's office was all beige walls and leather chairs. He talked about assets and liabilities and other words that had nothing to do with me, with the shattered bits of my life. The only thing that cut through the fog was the look he gave me, a mix of pity and professional distance. Like I was a bug under his microscope. Coming home to the empty house wasn't a surprise, we'd planned this for weeks. Still, seeing his side of the closet bare, the toothbrush missing from the bathroom. The hollowness wasn't just in the spaces he left behind. It was inside me, echoing louder than any silence ever could. My phone buzzed with Mom's number for the 5th time today. I knew I couldn't hide forever. But the thought of seeing the disappointment etched on her face, Hearing that quiet letdown in her voice, well, it made me want to crawl under a rock and disappear. For all the brave faces I was putting on for the world, I knew I wasn't ready to face them. Not yet. Jenny dragged me to some house party. The music was bass pounding through my skull, fake laughter, and way too much cheap perfume hanging in the air. And that's when I overheard it. 3 women near the drink table, their voices low but sharp. Didn't think I'd hear them, but gold digger and poor Mark cut through the noise clear as a bell. Maybe they're right, at least about the part of me that married him for the comfortable life. God, that thought used to be buried, now it's front and center. There's no escaping what I did, especially not in a town this small. Bumped into him on the street today. Just there, at the corner grocery store. Part of me wanted the ground to swallow me whole, but instead I stood my ground. He looked right through me, then a little flicker of hurt flashed in his eyes before it vanished. Replaced with this steel. Like he'd built a wall between us, and I was the one on the wrong side now. The ring sits on my nightstand, mocking me with its sparkly promise. He dropped to one knee last night, fancy restaurant and everything. I didn't scream or run away, but I didn't exactly say yes either. Now, every time I look at it, I feel this cold dread seeping in. Is it guilt, or the awful realization that maybe this was my grand prize all along, winning some second-best version of love? He's moved a bunch of my boxes into his place, tries to make it seem like a fresh start. But even in that fancy condo with a view that used to make me swoon, I feel displaced. Out of place. Like these aren't my things, this isn't my life, and no matter how hard I try, it never will be. The dreams have changed. Now it's not about passion and excitement. Instead, I'm neck deep in spreadsheets, numbers swimming in front of my eyes. Savings accounts and alimony and all the other ugly words I never cared about before. Guess even with a heart full of holes, my brain remembers I cashed in on my soul, and now I'm staring at the damn receipt. The family picnic was an exercise in torture. His sister, Amy, looked right through me, didn't even bother with the fake pleasantries. Their little cousins wouldn't meet my eyes, and even sweet old Aunt Helen gave me a sidelong glance that felt more like judgment than her usual warmth. Word travels fast in tight-knit families. My phone keeps buzzing with angry messages from people I barely knew. His old college buddies, some girl he must have worked with. They call me names I won't repeat, tell me I deserve to be alone. Doesn't matter that they don't know me. Their words still sting because they confirm what I've become in the eyes of his world. Sorry has become my default response. At the grocery store if I bump into someone, to the waitress if she gets my order wrong. It spills out even when it isn't my fault, like a verbal tick rooted in the bone-deep shame I can't seem to shake. He's been on his best behavior up until now, all flowers and fancy dinners. But the last few days, there's been this edge to him. A possessiveness that makes my skin crawl, a temper that flashes hot and then disappears like it was never there. Did I just not notice it before, or has the mask already begun to crack? Driving home late last night, I caught my reflection in a darkened shop window. Didn't recognize the woman staring back. Eyes dull, lines around my mouth I never noticed before. It's like all this mess has aged me a decade, and I'm barely 30. It's not just who he sees me as, it's who I see now. And that, well, that might be the hardest thing of all to face. Yesterday a little kid bumped into me in the park. Spilled his ice cream cone all over my new dress. I braced myself for tears, but instead, he looked up at me with those big puppy dog eyes and said, "I bet you like chocolate, huh?" Before I could react, he'd wiped off my dress with his own sticky shirt tail and offered to share his mom's napkins. Something about that pure, simple kindness made me choke back tears. Guess there's still light in the world, even when you feel buried in your own shadow. Mark showed up at my door last night. No tears, no yelling. Just that quiet look that cuts me deeper than any screaming match. "You weren't broken," he said, his voice flat. "I didn't break you. You chose this, and you chose it over us." There's no arguing with that because he's not wrong. It's the truth laid bare, so harsh it almost feels like a physical blow. Tried to go to church on Sunday, figured it was the least I could do. But the stained glass and familiar hymns didn't feel comforting, just condemning. Words about forgiveness and straying sheep. Like a neon sign flashing over my head. I left before the service even started, walked until my feet blistered. There's this therapist Jenny keeps nagging me about. I figure it's the only play left, even if the thought of spilling my soul to a stranger makes me want to crawl into a hole. The office smells like old books and lemon-scented air freshener. Turns out, the words won't stop tumbling out once I get started. Everything about the affair, the guilt that's eating away at me, the ugly stuff about my marriage, it all pours out, raw and shameful. It started raining on my walk home. At first, I tried to avoid it, then just gave in. Let the cold water sting my face, soak through my clothes. For the first time in ages, it felt like something real, cutting through all the pretense and self-pity. Maybe it's dumb, but in that moment, it felt a tiny bit like maybe I could wash some of this stain away. Maybe. My wedding ring hasn't seen the light of day in weeks. It sits in the back of my jewelry box, not thrown out in a fit of rage like some bad movie, just forgotten. Irrelevant, a symbol of something that never really was. I wonder if it still holds sentimental value for him, if he even remembers it exists, just as I barely recognize the woman who wore it with such naive pride. The moving boxes feel different this time. It's not running away, not to him or anyone else. There's no more grand escape plan, no burner phone theatrics. It's more like packing up what's left of my old life and setting it aside for now. He's moved out, his side of things already gone, but those emptied spaces don't hold a ghost of him the way they used to. The silence feels right, necessary even. The new place is small, the kind of apartment you get when you're starting over with next to nothing. But it's mine. Every creak and scuff on the floorboards feels like a mark of something. A fresh start? Feels like a promise I haven't earned yet, a possibility so fragile it might shatter if I name it. Still, it's a start. Got a job waitressing at that hole-in-the-wall diner near the bus station. Tips are crap, regulars are oddballs, and my feet ache like hell at the end of every shift. It's the opposite of what I thought my life would be. The life I traded away for thrills that vanished like smoke. There's a bitter kind of satisfaction in that, a self-inflicted penance disguised as plain old hard work. My birthday came and went. No big party, no champagne, just me and a cheap takeout pizza. No one sang to me, no one wished me well. Used to, the silence would have been deafening, another glaring reminder of how alone I'd made myself. Now, it just is. It's what I built, the consequence I chose, so I sit in it and let it burn. The question isn't, where did it all go wrong, anymore. It's, where in the hell do I go from here? No easy answers, no comforting illusions left to break. Just the hard, bare truth waiting to